I want you guys all to imagine a house. And in this house, on every single shelf, there's stuff. Trinkets and measuring devices and remote controls and technology and a whole bunch of different types of each of those and toys and things that you use once a year like camping gear, baseball bats, shoes, and just imagine that house with just a bunch of stuff and compare that house to a house that has wide open spaces, empty counters, empty cabinets with maybe a few things like a vase or a vase, as they say, a couple plants, and just compare those two homes. Homes filled with things versus homes that are, for the most part, empty in comparison. And ask yourself, which one of these houses do you associate with an abundant person? What would be the opposite of abundance? Poverty versus a person that lives in poverty. Which homes are we associating with each of those? Go ahead and comment. So if that wasn't apparent, for me personally, the home filled with stuff is not abundant. Even though there's lots of things, the reason why that person in that home holds on to those things is because there's a lack of abundant energy. There's a lack of recognition of abundance. So when things come in, it's stagnant and it gets held onto. And we're going to be talking about that today because that also applies to the things that we hold on to mentally. So which are you most like? That internal environment of the home where a lot of things are being held on to, or the home where things aren't being held on to, things aren't needed to hold on to, the worries aren't necessary. We don't necessarily have to think about all of those things. The full on feels like it's hoarding. Exactly. And so why is the hoarder hoarding? The emptier one is abundant, right? The hoarder hoards because there's a lack of awareness of abundance, right? There's a fear that we must have these things. Even when it comes to things like memories. You know, I just moved, so this is the new backyard I'm sitting in, and inside there's a whole bunch of boxes because we kind of, it's, what is it, December 3rd? So we kind of just officially moved in December 1st. We're not done packing. As we're unpacking, there's piles. I wish you guys could see my dog right now. Solar. He rubs around in the grass. That's what he cares about. He cares about. Celestine, come here. All right. Where were we? Freedom right here. You see this guy? He's free. He's free. He's not worried about events of the past. But when we hoard on to things, we're very attached to that. I'm losing my train of thought because I just let my dog distract me, but I'm in the moment. Forgive me. From all that I have been studying, all the profound studies, people with PhDs and years of studying intellectual and scholarly stuff, including spiritual psychology, it is the home with the least, is the one that is most abundant, is what that's referring to. I'm sending this to my husband, says Helen. Oh, if your husband actually is watching this recording now, he knows you commented that before you actually did it. Ornamental stuff. But yeah. All right. So why? Why is the abundant natured stuff? And this is where we get into a paradox, right? Is the person who doesn't hold on to things creating the abundance, or is the fact that there is abundance allowing them to not need to hold on to things? It's kind of like a chicken before the egg. And I would say that the chicken and the egg both manifest now because there really isn't any linear time. So there really isn't no before. It's they create each other. And so somebody who doesn't attach to things in that moment, in that choice, I should say, in that choice, it opens up the possibility that always was and always will be and always is, opens up that possibility of allowing more things to flow in through. The universe is all one, right? The universe is made up of energy. And so if energy is being sent your way and then you hold on to that energy, the system of the universe quits sending energy your way, because all the energy that it sends to you, you just hold on to. And there's no dispersing, there's no multiplying, there's no impact that's being done. There's just holding on. Now think about the things that you think are very important to you. You know what I'm about to donate in there? So I've got jackets from when I was younger, my old hockey jackets that are extremely meaningful to me, extremely meaningful. They say like my number 13, they say my name, some of them have patches. Even my college ones is like Oakland University hockey. It's like super cool stuff, but I will probably never wear them again, mostly because they're made of plastic, polyester. And it's just not been something I've been wearing for like 10, 15 years. I've been like all my underwear, all my socks for the last, I would say since like 2010 at least, I look at the tags of things, cotton, linen, wool, natural fibers, very little blends of man-made things. And so I just don't wear a lot of the cool stuff that I have, a lot of the stuff that has memories in it as well. And so me holding on to something for the sake of a memory doesn't allow somebody else to create memories with that item. Think of the things that have come to you. Actually, this shirt came to me. I had a client, an old gym client, one of my favorite clients, Rick. He's passed on. He's graduated. I loved Rick. But anyways, Rick, when he moved out of LA and he had his Hollywood Hills house, I helped get rid of everything, and some of the stuff I kept because he didn't need it anymore. So this is one of those things that I kept, and I get a lot of value out of this. There's so much stuff in my house that I don't get value out of, so a lot of it's going bye-bye. It's going bye-bye. And this is just what's on my mind right now because I'm moving, so we're talking about it. And the point of everything that I'm saying is that when you guys let things go, when you detach from the things in your home, that opens up space for the things that you need, because now you're a conduit of this energy that you've been holding on to. Now you let it disperse. That's going to allow more energy to come in. Maybe it's within the realm of more things that are more useful to you. Maybe it's in the realm of some other type of energy, like relationship energy or financial energy or influential energy. And I'm going to tie this back into ourself, because our home in our psyche is the same way. If we're holding on to the worries, we're holding on to lust, and what's one of the so look at the sins, right? The like gluttony. What is gluttony? Actually, in the Bible, not saying whether the Bible is like true or God's word, because obviously it's man's interpretation of God's word, we'll call it that. But in the Bible, the gluttony leads to what? Gluttony leads to poverty. Let me see if I can find the exact verse. Gluttony, poverty. Proverbs 23:21, which states that the drunkard and the glutton will come to poverty. And so this idea that if you are consuming, holding on, grasping, attaching, mine, that will lead to poverty. It's one of these paradoxes, because it's like the more that we accumulate, the less that we have. How is that possible? How is that possible? And it works mentally as well. If we're accumulating things, I need to pay attention to these things, paying attention. So you're giving your energy to these thoughts, these measurements of how you are keeping up with the Joneses, goals that you have that you're extremely attached to not having, and you're just gluttonous in your thought processes. That's going to lead to a poor state of being, because when you have everything that you have becomes meaningless. It just becomes another thing on the shelf amongst many, many other things, a lot of which we've even forgot that we're holding on to. And so you guys can see the connection between the stuff that we have in our homes that we're actually holding on to that could provide value to others. And when we become that, like a lot of us are like wondering, what can I do in this world? What can I do for society? How can I be a contribution? There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff in a lot of our closets, in a lot of our garages. And I might be, talking to people that are well advanced in this skill or this art of letting things freely flow in and out of their life. I used to have a rule, which I don't really have to have now because I'm not meeting people as much as I was meeting people when I owned gyms. When I owned gyms, this is like kind of pre-Instagram as well. Like I wasn't making money digitally. I was making money in person, and I would go everywhere. I would travel, and I would be meeting people in other gyms and working out with them. And it was just like a very, very social life. And if anybody said, and I guess I do still do it now, but it just happens less. But anybody said like, hey, I really like that shirt, I would just give it to them. When we were moving to Mount Shasta during COVID in 2020, I was unpacking my storage and packing it into the things that we were going to take up to Mount Shasta, because that's where we went during COVID. And this guy in a USPS or maybe a FedEx truck, I don't know, he was just driving by and he slowed down and he looked at a motorcycle that I took out. I like a pretty cool motorcycle. And he was like, dude, that's a nice bike. And I was just like, hey, you want it? And he just came back later. I was like, I'll leave it right here. You can come back later and get it. And he came back later and got it. And like, actually, now that I think about it, then that turned into, we moved to Mount Shasta and started making more money than we've ever made ever in our life. I never actually made that connection. Letting go is part of my levitation conditioning. Oh yeah, Scott. I remember you're talking about just like letting go of gravity, of your heaviness on earth, and just become lighter. You can actually do that. I'm sitting down right now on the ground and just become lighter. And at the Human Garage events on the World Tour, Gary would sit down on a chair and he would demonstrate how people can feel heavier. You can make yourself heavier for sure. Scott's practicing levitation, which is cool. Greetings from Hawaii. Peaceful Juice Man. What up? Yes, aloha, by the way. Yes, if you have to ask, do I have enough? Then the answer is no. So guys, what does your internal environment feel like? That cluttered house or the house where there's wide open spaces? Which version of that house are we? And speaking of fashion maneuvers, a tangled psyche equals a tangled body, because the body's keeping the score, right? And so these thoughts, not only are they landing in your closet, I never really brought up like the memory thing, like the me giving away like my cherished like little kid things. The reason why I'd like to keep them is because it reminds me of a time in my life where things were great, right? It was like, this is just like such a great time. By holding on to that, I may be preventing myself from having that time in the moment, in real life now. And so by letting it go, it's trusting that, like, number one, I'm not losing those memories. Those memories live within inside me. They don't live inside my clothes from that time. But if I let go of my clothes, that opens up space for that same level of joy and happiness that I think I'm holding on to by holding on to the thing. But I let it go. I trust that that is within me, and that faith and that trust and that alignment to that joy and that harmony locks into versions of reality in the here and now, where I experience that same thing. Hello, Ra from London. Yeah, guys, where are you coming in from? How can you help rosacea? Well, that's easy. Go to rawoferarth.com and look where it says nutritional support. If you're in the United States, Canada, or Europe, I can definitely help you out with helping your diet become functional. If you're outside of those countries, then you need to have a functional diet. And a functional diet is nourishing, detoxifying, and it repairs itself. So that means that you have to, let's start from the backwards. You need to start with repair. So when you sleep, your sleep quality needs to increase, which means you got to get rid of blue light. Make sure that there's no toxins in your sleeping environment. So that might mean look for mold. It might mean repaint your bedroom if it's letting off a lot of VOCs. Try to air out your room that you sleep in every single day, and even your living quarters. Like open the windows every single day so that your body can repair when it's sleeping. It's also not being toxified, if that's even a word, during the day. And then you need to make sure that your detox pathways are open. We do this with our nutritional programs, and I'm just telling you how to do it naturally. So things like skin brushing, sauna, exercise, grounding, being outside, being in the sun, sweating in the sun. Guys, what does sweat have? Salt. What is salt? Salt is a crystal. So the light coming through the salt, that's some magic right there. So those are some options. Pay attention to the water that you're drinking. And then nourishment. Ask questions about where you're getting your food from, because there's major differences on ingredients and whole foods based on where they're coming from, what farms they're coming from, what farmers are in charge of those farms. And when you start asking these questions, you start finding answers that may not cost any more money. In fact, I would say that it would align you to a greater lifestyle that supports that level of diligence for your own health. Skin, like rosacea issues, when you go to a doctor, they're gonna like say about all these illnesses. They're gonna be like, well, you have elevated this thing and elevated that, so we're gonna give you medication to get rid of this thing. But like the reason why all of these things are elevated is because the body's trying to remedy itself from a crappy lifestyle, a crappy diet, a non-functional diet. And that's really the illness. Rosacea is not the illness. Rosacea is your body's attempt to fix itself. The skin is a detoxifying organ. That's why I mentioned skin brushing. I think I mentioned that. So acne, same thing. And it all just basically comes down to a poor gut and a poor bacteria balance in the gut. And so start working on some of those things that I mentioned there. For my grandchildren's birthdays a couple of years ago, I started giving them an experience rather than presents. They remember the experience more than any present I gave them. Good. I am going to request from both Carolina. I'm not sure if Carolina's on board with this because she kind of likes the sentimental things, like a special outfit for Christmas and the holidays, even though I'm way more detached about those things. But I partake in her joy and her love to amplify days and moments of holidays, even if I don't necessarily agree with what the holiday is. But I would like to have like a no toys policy. And maybe a few learning toys, but playing with grass and rocks and sticks. Like Carolina grew up in a third world country. They didn't have anything. And so she would get creative. What was she talking about? She said that she would use like pasta boxes, like cardboard pasta box. And she would cut it, and that's like she would build like little homes for her Barbie. And like in a pasta box there'd be like this plastic where you can see through it, that would become a window. And she would shoe boxes, and she would have to make her own toys. And then she became an architect, and like a very good architect and very good with design. She's got an eye for things. I got her a cup from a cafe yesterday, because we just moved. So I went to this really cool cafe. It's called the 507 in Thousand Oaks. And today we went back there, and she remembered the pattern of the cup from yesterday. And she recognized the pattern of the cup in a piece of artwork in the restaurant. She was like, oh, that is what was on the cup yesterday. And I was like, I thought she was seeing cups inside the cafe, but she wasn't. She just remembered it. Like, she pays attention to details like that because she was forced to recognize the usefulness and the utility of things at a very, very young age. So we put salt in our skin and go into the sun. No, that's not what I said. I said sweat, your own sweat, which has salt and sodium. So think about sodium. It's an electrolyte. Sun is energy. This is all like translating light into energy. Raw Earth website program is located online, rawearth.com, selfexpansion.app. From all that I have been studying, all the profound studies, people with PhDs and years of studying intellectual and scholarly stuff, including spiritual stuff, I feel like detachment leads to radical acceptance of just being. Yeah, when you're detached, you attract. When we were born, we were worthy to breathe, giggle, and suck on our own toe. Just be everything. What you're saying allows me to notice. I feel like detachment leads to radical acceptance. Our innocence and wholesome intuition is blocked by attachment. Some people choose to suffer until they have disintegrate rather. So guys, if you're here on Mondays, I've been talking to Christopher Witecki, and puppy loves to lick our skin. Yeah, it's the essence of you on the skin. So Chris has been saying that the energy from the heavens that are coming into us, what it's drawing out of us is for us to be us, despite what other people are expecting from us, and also despite the paradigm that we've set around ourselves, that like the matrix that we've set around ourselves, based on what we think is acceptable to society, acceptable to our friends, and acceptable to our family. It's almost like we're trying to be the best student, the best kid, the best athlete, just like we were trained in the program when we were younger. We're achieving the gold star. We're achieving the good job, boy. We're striving to be good. And all of that is burning down. And so some of us might be facing issues with our family. Some of us might be stepping into new realms like moving or job switching or getting a taste and a craving to do certain things that you've stopped yourself from doing in the past. And now is the time where if you do step into that lane, that is going to carry you to dimensions of reality that are way more in tune with yourself and way more in tune with the rest of us. Because the more of us that are in the lane that we belong in, the greater reality will be, because the more of us will be living harmonious lives. And this is independent of old constructs of what we assumed was good versus bad. So my son has autoimmune and encephalitis, and since he has, I made the screen really small so it's hard to read, and he has this, he no longer sweats even if he exercises. Does the sun still help detox? So I actually know somebody who doesn't sweat. It's Diso, his name, but I don't think it's caused by encephalitis. I think his sweat glands are on the like inside of his skin as opposed to on the outside. So he just kind of sweats into his body. This autoimmune issue. So the thing with tests, because you have a label to this disease, right? So I'm assuming that you took a test and you were diagnosed. I just want to say right now that I am not claiming to cure, treat, or diagnose any condition, even though what I'm about to say might sound like it, but I'm not claiming that I am treating, curing, or diagnosing any condition. But when it comes to autoimmune issues, self-autoimmune, attacking. So an autoimmune issue is like a self-attacking mechanism that your body is doing because it thinks it's the right thing to do. And the reason why your body would think it's the right thing to do to attack itself is because there's so much foreign organisms inside the bloodstream that the body's just on high alert, trying to fix that problem. And then it just ends up attacking the healthy tissues in your body. And so encephalitis, it's actually going into like nerve and brain. And then it's like causing inflammation. Another example of this would be rheumatoid arthritis. It's causing inflammation of the joints. What your son's dealing with is more of a nerve condition, and then you're saying that he's not sweating because of this. I'm assuming because the inflammation is cutting off the channels that go to the sweat glands. Again, this is all just a guess. Now, what a doctor will do would be to try and stop the inflammation and maybe some sort of medicine to reduce a biomarker of this condition. So a biomarker of this condition would be like some chemical in the body that is high, that's signaling that you have this condition, which is kind of ridiculous that they just want to get that thing down when that doesn't matter. What matters is what caused this whole thing to start. That's what actually matters. Most, if not all, Western medical doctors that's their model, is they're trying to fix what's wrong as opposed to addressing the cause of what's wrong. So what's wrong is there's like an elevation of inflammation, for example. So the fix what's wrong is let's reduce the inflammation. Let's give anti-inflammatory, reduce the inflammation. That can start to seemingly reverse the issue. The problem is anti-inflammatories have a host of side effects. They're very dehydrating, and it's hard on your liver, things like your kidneys as well. And then that can cause other issues where doctors of the old age, before the chemical revolution, right? There's like Better Living Through Chemical, which was started by and the chemical revolution. So before that, they would go look at the root cause of the inflammation that leads to encephalitis. So he's just going one step back. So what I would do as a parent is to go look at the root cause. What is causing the foreign organisms to go into the bloodstream, which would be the gut is permeated. So its holes are punched into the gut lining, most likely because of the bacteria being destroyed by herbicides and pesticides, primarily things like glyphosate. And then the new stuff that they're coming out with, because glyphosate has been proven to be very, very harmful. So they're developing new chemicals that are even more harmful, but nobody knows what they're called. And so they're not using glyphosate, but they're using something that's even worse. So that stuff gets in, kills the bacteria, because that's what it does in the ground. As a pesticide and herbicide, is it kills the microorganisms in the ground, so then it prevents the weeds from growing. So that's being killed, and then our bacteria and our gut, our villi in our gut it kind of like gets matted together and crushed down because the bacteria aren't keeping them healthy. The bacteria is necessary for the villi to be healthy, to extract nutrients. So these things get kind of matted down and destroyed and burned off. And so now your gut is still trying to get nutrients in. So it perforates itself, kind of like splits open, and that causes leaky gut. And by leaky gut, that means that the bad stuff, because from mouth to anus is supposed to be exterior to the body. Mouth, things go in to anus. It's all technically exterior. But now you have your gut that's been permeated. So now there's holes in there. So things get into the bloodstream, like your feces, bacteria, parasites. And now it's all in your bloodstream. And now your immune system, autoimmune, your immune system starts to go attack all of these foreign organisms. And then it gets confused and it starts attacking healthy cells. And then that causes inflammation, and that leads to a host of autoimmune issues. And that's the cause. And so once again, I'm not claiming to cure it, but the fix to these things is a state of health. And you get a state of health by making sure that your lifestyle isn't sick. And so fix your lifestyle. The sickness is actually the lifestyle. It's not the label of the disease. That's the side effect of a poor, sick lifestyle. The sickness is the lifestyle. So the lifestyle needs to be addressed. Another reason why doctors don't address it is because they can't trust the patients to actually make change. And, as a mother to a son, you can tell him this stuff. Is he going to stop drinking the glyphosate-laden beer and, watching TV and all of these things that lead to this condition? It's hard. It's hard. So people usually just trust medication because it's easy. It takes about 10 seconds to pop a pill and swallow it, and they don't have to change anything in their life. So are those side effects worth it to not have to change the lifestyle? For most people, the answer to that is yes. And then somebody like me saying all this other stuff, I look like a quack because not enough people do what it takes to have a healthy lifestyle, to have a functional diet, to pay extra for food and water and even things like natural supplements versus synthetic supplements. There's just not enough people doing that to validate that it works, because most of us, once the gut gets destroyed, we become lazy and we become sedentary and we become sort of just like a sheep. My fear has delayed my expansion and tightly gripped my old self as one I won't let go. Everything you say hits close to my heart and my pineal gland too, and I get closer to my ideal expansive self. I have released a lot of stuff like marijuana most recently, congrats, and on my way to more release of my material items. Thank you, Ra. I continue to change because of my relationship to you. How are you doing, Ra? It's been a journey with the birth of a kid and then moving shortly after. And really, it's good. It's watching my wife work so hard, breastfeeding and taking care of the baby. I mean, it's really admirable. And there's a lot I do and can do, but in the grand scheme of things, she's pulling most of the weight. And I feel like for some reason that's a little tough for me to not be able to do anything, to not that I can't do anything, but not being able to lighten that load or lessen that load for her. Like, I can't wake up every 90 minutes at night and breastfeed the baby. Like, that's, yes, there's a bottle thing, but we're just kind of choosing not to do that. We tried it in the beginning and it just ended up being just more work and not as natural. You're putting it into something that goes into plastic or silicone. Yeah, we have glass bottles too, but it's just like a lot of, and then washing it. So it's like, are we truly getting all the soap out of this bottle when we rinse it, and we're washing it every single time? So it's like we're putting pristine milk into a bottle, into the baby, when we can just literally just go straight from teat to baby without any of this potential like man-made material. And so we were just doing that, but I can't really lessen the load for her, and that's a little tough to have to deal with because she's doing a lot and it's impressive. It always starts with us. We have to make the steps. We the sheeple. Okay. Thank you guys for the comments. Did you guys decide what home you were? The sloppy one or the free one? So we did this exercise in selfexpansion.app is the website where we did this. We did this meditation where we committed to letting go of like a thought, a relationship, and then eventually a thing. And there's a movie on this too. It's called, I think there's several movies, but it's called Minimalism. I think The Minimalists. Like, you can find some movies or some probably blogs on this. This is older than like these guys that made up minimalism, but the concept's older, but you can kind of look at how a modern day adaptation of it is applied. But I'm pretty much saying most of it now. But in the meditation, in the practice that we did, we combined breath with like this grabbing. And I think we grabbed for 5 minutes with the arms above our head, doing breath of fire. And as we grab, the muscles and the fascia start to get really restricted, and we build up a lot of pressure. And then we did some more breath work of like building up that pressure and then just releasing it and just feeling the freedom of letting go of pressure within ourselves. And we're not going to do that right now, but think about the things that you're holding on to. And if you can amplify that, like if you think about a closet that's full, like really let that fill up your psyche, almost like bursting, like build it up so there's not enough room for it, and then just empty it from yourself with an exhale will usually work. And see if through practice you can practice releasing that. So here's some other items I'm going to let go of. Camping gear. I will use camping gear again. I will use it again, probably really soon. I love camping. I have a lot of camping gear, sleeping bags. Am I going to use all of them? No, I have a lot of sleeping bags. We have a lot of air mattresses. I say we would have like 7 air mattresses. We're going to use them. We only need 1. Those are all going. The camping gear is like, it's better if somebody else uses it more often than me once every few years. And when I do get into the routine of going into nature more and camping, then it'll return. Something will come up. Either it'll be given to me, gifted to me, or I just go buy some more stuff that is probably going to be exactly what I need in the moment. I'm not going to be trying to adapt something old. That is definitely respectable for the thanks of her. Thanks for the pros perspective. Thanks for the perspective. That was a comment on the autoimmune. Wait, was it? No, that was just a comment based on like how I was doing. I've had this conversation about this. Mom's not breastfeeding boys, like the father's saying no. I am the one of full of stuff, obviously, the house full of stuff. Is there a name for that type of breath work? Yeah, self-expansion practice. I just made it up. I mean, I didn't just pull it out of my ass, but I kind of did, right? It's actually, I think we all pull everything out of our ass because we consume and then we extract from that. So that's what I do in our practices, and I make a new one every single week, and it's usually something psychological, and then I convert it into physical, energetic, somatic, based on movement, breath work, and intention and meditation. And it always has to do with something different. This week was letting go. Once again, because of the theme that comes up in my life, I also have come to an awareness as a teacher that the things that are relevant to me or the things that pop up in my psyche are relevant to the crowd. And this is after teaching for professionally for 20 years, because I used to program workouts for like many different types of workouts every single day for 10 years. I had private clients. I had class clients. I had different types of classes. So I had like conditioning classes and then regular CrossFit classes and strength classes. And then like private clients that were like other gym owners was using my programming. So I've been programming things. So it's not necessarily the things that are best for me or best for everybody, but it's the realm that I'm in. Like, where am I? And I translate that into the crowd. And I've just got kind of like I guess like a sense of what to channel in terms of like what people are needing. And so every week I come up with a new program for self-expansion app. And this week has to do with letting go. And some weeks it has to do with dealing with a relationship that is traumatic to you in the past. And sometimes it's grasping and focusing on a target in a direction that we're going. And other times it's being stable with our fluctuating emotional states and being, I think last week was recognizing that every emotion is signaling to us a need. So every quote negative emotion, which really isn't negative, but the negative emotion, like let's say anger, is signaling to us that a boundary is being crossed. So it's evoking what we call anger from us, but also it's a signal of how to arrange and direct our life and have critical conversations with people. Critical conversations is another thing that we all get to practice as well. And I really like practicing these things in a controlled environment, like the privacy of your house or the sanctuary of nature, because you can practice running scripts or practice different states of awareness in a safe way where you don't make impact on other people, and you can start to make choices so that when you go out into the environment, you are well practiced, well tuned, you are in tune with yourself, and you are attuned with your needs, and you can be a conduit of harmony because you've done the work. Letting the daughters breastfeed, not the boys. My husband's brothers were not breastfed, but his sister was. Why is that important? I feel like I've heard that before, but what is the explanation for that? We have a daughter, but I would definitely breastfed a boy. I tend to ask the question, what is natural? And I can't imagine how you would not be able to breastfeed a son in nature. Like, and then when you look at the animals, sons are being breastfed as well as daughters. But yeah, I'm interested in why would you not breastfeed sons? Sons of Man versus Sons of Gods. So there's a book called Initiation, and I think there's several books called Initiation. So let me get the author. I think it's Elizabeth. Initiation is a book about a woman who remembers her past lives. Elizabeth Haich. It says an autobiography that connects the 20th century European life of internationally beloved teacher Elizabeth H. and her lucid memories of initiation. And so this woman, I would say top 5 favorite books that I've ever read. The journey that you go on is epic in this book. And the first 60 pages, maybe 100, I think it's maybe the first 100 pages, it's a slow burn. You're like, what is this? Like, what is the point of this? But just get through that. And then you're just like blasted into Egypt and ancient Egypt, and where she has a past life where she's a daughter of a pharaoh. And the pharaoh's brother was the high priest, I believe. And the high priest has more power than the pharaohs, which is something we don't really get taught. But the high priest and the pharaoh kind of work together. The high priest brings the information in from the realms and channels it to the pharaoh, and then the pharaoh initiates it into physical reality. And anyways, the pharaoh's daughter ends up going through the initiation process to become a high priestess. And so you witness that experience. And if you studied other things about Egypt, maybe it was really exciting for me because I know some things about Egypt, but especially if you know some things about Egypt, this is an amazing book to read, like because it corroborates with some of the other information. And it's just an amazing journey. And finish the book. You can't just not finish the book. That's amazing. The thing that is relevant to you is often exactly relevant to me. While you teach is affecting the crowd in a perfect way, you attract those that can vibe with you, and you are ready to teach. Thank you for your vulnerability on your new fatherhood experience, being challenged to accept the limits on your direct control. Yeah, that's a good book, guys. I don't know if it's on Audible. It might not be. I don't think it was when I read it. So I remember having to read the physical book. And some books aren't on Audible, but they're worth the time investment of sitting still and reading. This is one of these books. If you're wondering, I just thought of, I don't know, maybe I need to say it. The Secret Teachings of Plants is another one. But that's like the other book that I would recommend. This guy, Stephen Harold Buhner, is also just like a poet when it comes to explaining the natural world. And reading his books in order is pretty good. But like one of the last books that he wrote before he died is called, it's a really long title. It's called Plant Intelligence and the Imaginal Realm into the Dreaming of Earth. Wait, let me just pull up so I get the exact title. Plant Intelligence and the Imaginal Realm into the Dreaming of Earth. Yeah. And Stephen Harold Buhner also wrote a book, I forget what it's called, on writing, which if you're a writer of any sort, he made a book on writing. It's probably boring if you're not a writer. I don't really think I'm a writer, and it was boring for me, but I read boring books because I'm not necessarily needing that excitement. But Initiation is not a boring book, and neither is Plant Intelligence of the Imaginal Realm. I can't find Becoming Vegetalista is the book on writing. It doesn't sound like a writing book. Oh, no, it's not. That's not. I read that book too. That's not the writing book. The writing book is called Ensouling Language. Ensouling Language. And if you're any sort of writer, I highly recommend that book. Anyways, I mentioned The Plant Intelligence of the Imaginal Realm. The prerequisite for that book is really The Secret Teachings of Plants. And that book leads into Plant Intelligence of the Imaginal Realm, which is the better book, but I feel like it'll be much, much better if you have the foundational information from The Secret Teachings of Plants. They're both extremely long books as well. Plant Intelligence in the Imaginal Realm, I also don't think is on Audible, but The Secret Teachings of Plants is. Guys, I'm going to be, one of the benefits of this house is the backyard is much more usable. And we've got like we got a few outdoor scenes, but the backyard's a lot more usable for me to be creating content from. So I'll be doing most of my content out here. We've got, orange trees. What's the big giant grapefruit? I can't believe. We've got lemon trees, Mayor lemon trees, and then we got a pomelo tree, which is amazing because I love those. Okay, guys. So what's important now is to let go. Let go of something that you're holding on to in your psyche, and also let go of a physical item that you have. You can sell it, you can give it away, you can gift it, you can throw it away. Feel it going and creating space. Might feel like a void. That's space, that's freedom. That's freedom to flow. And see if you can let things go, give things away, become a contribution to society. This is how we can do it. Do you miss your avocados? Yeah, we had 10 avocado trees and we're moving to like a bunch of citrus trees, which, I mean, 2 years with the avocados and now who knows how long with the citrus. Avocados were good. I have 2 Home Depot buckets filled with them over there that I'll probably give away over the next week or so. Do I miss them? It's a memory that lives inside me. I don't need the avocados anymore. Somebody else can have them. And I hope that they pass them along too. All right. Bye-bye, everybody. I'll see you next week. I'm here every week, noon on Wednesday. Bye-bye.